That is the prefrontal cortex, isn't it? This is known as the prefrontal cortex. And what is the importance of this prefrontal cortex? Anyone?
Facial expression.
What?
Controlling the facial expression.
No, it is not the
Controls personality of the individual.
Yes, very good. You must say that this is the part of the frontal lobe, so it should be motor in function, but it is not like that. A very peculiar thing about the rest of the frontal gyrus that we have enumerated on the different surfaces, all the three surfaces, it has got a common nomenclature, that is the prefrontal cortex, and it is represented by the area number, Brodmann's area 9, 10, 11 and 12. Okay, 9, 10, 11 and 12. It is presumed that the frontal lobe, the person whose frontal lobe is very prominent, those people are very intelligent, isn't it? No, it is like that. The prefrontal cortex, it is not, if there is the electrical stimulus here, it will not elicit any motor movement. Then what it will do? This prefrontal cortex, it is the storehouse. What it is? It is storehouse of all the sensory information, association area, whether it is the visual, whether it is the auditory, whether it is the somatosensory, all the sensory information it is stored here, and it is this prefrontal cortex. It is also related with the dorsomedial nucleus of the thalamus. And what else? What else? A very important part, that is the limbic system. What it is? It is a very important topic that for you people, UG and PG both, the limbic system, very important. So prefrontal cortex, it is also connected with the limbic system, and due to the connection with the limbic system itself will define the personality of a person. So the prefrontal cortex decides the personality, and because it is the storehouse of all the sensory information here, and it is the area of the foresightness, judgment. Okay, prefrontal cortex, what it will lead to? It is the area of the foresightness, the judgment, and the storehouse of all the sensory information, and it decides the personality of a person. So suppose if the prefrontal cortex, if you are removing, it will derange the personality of a person, isn't it? Yes or no? If you cut the prefrontal cortical area here, then it will lead to the deranged personality. Okay. Now, this was all about the frontal lobe. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Just revise it. The central sulcus, anterior to that, this was the precentral gyrus, which is the motor area, the body, the motor function of the body. It is governed by this gyrus, and the representation of the opposite half of the body is upside down. That means the mouth, pharynx, then the head, then the trunk, then the limb, then the foot, leg and the perineum. Okay, and just anterior to that there is the premotor area, and the premotor area, it is the area number 6. Motor area, it is the area number 4. Both on the medial surface and the superolateral surface, the area will be same. It only difference of the representation here. So premotor area, it is concerned with which part, which special function? Extrapyramidal. Okay, help in the extrapyramidal function, because it is related with the basal ganglia, and rest that we have discussed, all the surface gyrus on the different surfaces of the frontal lobe, it is collectively known as the prefrontal cortex, that will give what? The personality of a patient, personality of a person, because it is associated with the limbic system. Okay, and all the sensory information from the thalamus, from the association area, the visual, the auditory, the somatosensory, all information are getting here. So it is the storehouse of all the sensory inputs here. So this was the frontal lobe. Now come to the parietal lobe here, one by one. The parietal lobe boundary, it is anteriorly by the central sulcus and posteriorly by the, that you know. Now this is the postcentral gyrus. The post-central gyrus, here it is the what? This gyri, what function it is? Somato, which area here? 3, 1 and 2. Area number? This is now the sensory part, the parietal lobe. Just behind that, this is the parietal lobe. It is concerned with the sensory function. The body again it is represented here in the upside down manners. Okay, but the function is sensory. What type of sensation it is reaching over here, perceived here? Somatosensory area number, Brodmann's area 3, 1, 2. Conscious perception of the pain, touch, temperature as well as the proprioceptive sensation, isn't it? So, pain, touch, temperature, it is represented anteriorly on this gyrus, and the proprioceptive impulses, it is represented on the posterior aspect of this gyrus. Anyhow, it is this post-central gyrus, it is meant for the sensory representation of the body. So, this is area number 312. Okay, 312 here. Now, posterior to that there is the post-central sulcus. What it is? This is the post-central, just running parallel behind the central sulcus on the parietal lobule. Here it is the post-central sulcus, and just the gyrus of the parietal lobe, posterior to that, it is divided into superior parietal lobule and the inferior parietal lobule. Have you heard the name of superior parietal as well as the inferior parietal lobule? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, very good. Now look here. Just posterior to this post-central sulcus, all the gyrus, look here, which is running here. There is a intraparietal sulcus. What is the nomenclature here? Intraparietal. That means this sulcus, it is present inside the parietal lobe. And what is the direction? Antero-posteriorly. It is not like that. It is antero-posteriorly. Look here. This is the intraparietal sulcus, which is dividing the parietal lobe here into the superior parietal lobule as well as the inferior parietal lobule. Okay? Now, this just on the medial surface and this superior parietal lobule and inferior parietal lobule, what is the nomenclature here for superior parietal lobule? What is the nomenclature of Brodmann's area here? This superior parietal lobule, inferior parietal lobule, what it is meant for? I have said when the sensory input is coming to the sensory area, sensory impulses are coming here, it is interpreted, okay, interpreted on in which area? Sensory association area. That means there is an association area of each of the sensory input. This is the somatosensory, so this is the somatostatic association, sensory association area here. Here what it will do to the sensory information input, it will perceive and it will interpret it and it will direct accordingly the implement. So here it is the precuneus on the medial surface. So this is also the part of the sensory association area. This is the superior parietal lobule as well as the precuneus on the medial surface. What are the functions here? The Brodmann's area, the Brodmann mapping, it is 5 and 7. And what is the function of this parietal lobule? Anyone? What it does? It receives the sensory impulses here, okay. It gets the data of the sensory input here. It will analyze, interpret what is the thing, and it will then memorize that thing, whatever. Suppose I am holding this forceps here and I will memorize I am holding the forceps here. It will be memorized here. So, sensory association area, it is concerned with a very, very important nomenclature here, that is known as stereognosis. S-T-E-R-E-O, stereognosis. What do you mean by stereognosis? Stereognosis means a person, it is able to identify the object. I am closing my eyes. Look here. A person, it is able to identify the object which is taken in the hand by the touch, the feel when the eyes are closed, not by the open eyes, isn't it? If the eyes are closed and if you are able to identify the object, this is known as the stereognosis, and this is the function of this sensory somatosensory association area. And what are the gyri for that responsible for that? That is the superior parietal lobule and the precuneus on the medial surface. So if there is lesion of this sensory association area, what it will lead to? Astereognosis. What it is? Astereognosis. Astereognosis means in the closed eyes the person will not be able to find out what it is by the feel, the touch, smell, whatever it is. Okay? So it is like that. Now, just below the intraparietal sulcus there is the inferior parietal. This is the superior parietal lobule and this is the inferior parietal lobule. So, inferior parietal lobule, look here. Before going to the inferior parietal lobule, discussing it, first you see the temporal lobe. Have a look on the temporal lobe here. This is the anterior part, anterior pole of the temporal, this is known as the temporal pole. The temporal pole, it is, the gyrus are running antero-posteriorly, okay? And there are two sulcus here. Look, there are two sulcus which is running antero-posteriorly, and it is dividing the whole of the temporal lobe into three parts. This gyrus, it is divided, all the parts of the temporal lobe divided into three gyrus, the superior, the middle and the inferior temporal gyrus by the presence of two temporal sulcus, superior and the inferior temporal sulcus. Now, the superior temporal gyrus, it is lying here, it is the posterior ramus, okay, and this is the upturned part of the posterior ramus, and this is the superior this is the superior temporal sulcus. So here it is the posterior ramus of the what? Lateral sulcus, and this is the superior temporal sulcus. So this is the part of the inferior parietal lobule here. Can you think this part, the inferior parietal lobule, it is very important. In which sense it is important? It lies just opposite the parietal eminence here. Where is the area of the written, the printed word that you will be able to identify. Okay. So their inferior parietal lobule, it is divided again into the supramarginal gyrus and the angular gyrus. Can you say what the gyrus are? The upturned part of this, what is that? Posterior ramus. The part of the inferior parietal lobule adjacent, it is what? The which gyrus? Which gyrus? Supramarginal, and here it is the, that is the angular gyrus, isn't it? So, inferior parietal lobule, the supramarginal, the angular gyrus, area number 40, here area number 40 and area number 39. Okay. Now, this is the inferior parietal lobule, and all these inferior parietal lobule as well as the superior posterior part of the superior, the middle and the inferior temporal gyrus along with this were supposed to be the sensory area, sensory speech area previously. Here it is the 20, area number 20, 21 and 22 in the temporal gyrus. Look here, there area 20, 21 and 22 on the posterior aspect of this temporal gyrus, and here it is the area number 37. Now, all these areas were previously supposed to be associated with the sensory part of the speech, that is the vernix area, isn't it? Now, but here nowadays it is only the area number what? 22, which is known as the vernix speech area. It is where it is present. It is present over here on the posterior aspect of the temporal gyrus. Area number 22, that is the vernix speech area or the sensory speech area. Okay. This vernix sensory speech area, it is also serves the purpose of the association secondary what? Secondary auditory area, isn't it? So now there was the Broca's motor speech area anteriorly, where it is present, area number 44 and area number 45. Broca's motor speech area, and the Wernicke's speech area number 22 here. Now this is the sensory aspect. Here the sensory aspect of the language is represented. Here on the motor speech area there is the motor aspect of the language. So now one more area it is present among this area, that is the auditory area. Anyone who can explain it? Where is you will get the auditory area? Where is the auditory area lying? Area number 41 and 42 for the auditory area.
Posterior part of the superior temporal.
Yes, this is the superior surface of what? Superior temporal gyrus, isn't it? So when you will take out the stem of the lateral sulcus here, I have already said that there is in the stem of the lateral sulcus there is the convoluted hidden part of the cerebral cortex here, okay, and when you will retract it, you will get the part of the surfaces which is hidden in the stem of the lateral sulcus here. So when you will see, there are horizontal what? Component on the superior surface of the temporal gyrus, which is there is the part which is horizontally placed, and here the superior surface of the superior temporal gyrus, there is the primary Hessel's part are there, HESCHL, Prostophius Hessel's convolution it is known as, and that part here you will get the auditory area, primary auditory area, that is area number 41, and the surrounding the gyri are the auditory association area, isn't it, along with the area number 22. So Broca's motor speech area, the auditory area, as well as the Wernicke's sensory speech area, it is lying over here. Here it was the stereognosis, superior parietal lobule and the precuneus, and the inferior parietal lobule, the supramarginal and the angular gyrus, the 40 and the 39 area. Now, what is the importance of these areas here? Angular gyrus especially. This is the motor aspect, Broca's motor speech area and the sensory speech area. Now, how the speech language is formed? Look here. Here, when you will read here, there is the visual area and the visual association area. Look, in this angular gyrus, it receives information from all the association area. What I have said, association area of visual association area, the auditory association area, and the somatosensory association area. Okay, and then the angular gyrus, it is giving the command to the what? Giving the fibers from the angular gyrus. The fibers are going to where? In the Wernicke's speech area. Here area number Wernicke's speech area, it is area number what?
22.
Yes. So Wernicke's area, it is receiving all the sensory informations with interpreted by the angular gyrus here. And this sensory Wernicke's speech area, it is related with the Broca's motor speech area by an arcuate fasciculus, longitudinal fasciculus. This is also a type of fibers which is joining the different areas on the same side of the hemisphere, isn't it? Okay, longitudinal fasciculus, bundle, short fasciculus, it is like that. So the motor speech area as well as the sensory speech area, now it is connected by the arcuate fasciculus. Okay, it with the sensory information it is going to there, and this Broca's motor speech area, the Broca's motor speech area, and you see here this was the area number 4, prefrontal pre-central gyrus it is, and the representation where the part of the body which helps in speech, that means the lips, the oral cavity, the pharynx, all these are represented here in the lower part of this precentral gyrus here. So area number 44 and 45, the impulses will go to the motor area of for what? For speaking. further, so that the coordinated articulation of the vocal cords, the oral cavity, the lips, then the person is able to speak. Okay, so this was the story of the language formation. Then this, there is a relay station. What it is? The angular gyrus here, area number 39, which receives all the sensory information from the association area. Sensory association area, whether it is the visual, whether it is the auditory, whether it is the somatosensory association area, and then it will send the information to the vernix area. Vernix area, it is connected by the motor speech area, via the arcuate fasciculus, and this Broca's motor speech area will get the fibers to speak. What? The fibers, commanding fibers to motor function for the speaking. That means what is the parts of the body? That is the lips, the oral cavity, the laryngeal. So the part of the oral cavity which helps in speaking. So this is the, now this is the posterior part. This is the parieto-occipital sulcus and the occipital notch, and this is the posterior part of what? This lobe is occipital lobe. Just behind this first imaginary line, this is the occipital lobe. So occipital lobe, you can better see here on the medial surface, it has got a calcarine sulcus and the what? Here it is the calcarine sulcus. So this is the part in between the calcarine sulcus and the parieto-occipital sulcus. This is the precuneus. What is that? This is the cuneus. This is the cuneus, and just medial to that it is the lingual gyrus. So on the medial surface of the occipital lobe, in the calcarine sulcus, here in the calcarine sulcus, which starts from the posterior aspect of the splenium, reaching up to the pole and going up to the superolateral surface. This is the calcarine sulcus. So in the floor, the wall of this calcarine sulcus, look here, in the floor and the wall of the calcarine sulcus, what is the area? This is the occipital, part of the occipital lobe. So occipital lobe, it is concerned with the sensation, special sensation, vision. So visual area, it is situated in the floor and the lateral wall of the calcarine sulcus. That means the lateral to that, this is the lingual gyrus and the cuneus. Okay, cuneus and the lingual gyrus, there will be the area, that is area number 17 for the what? For the vision. Then around that lingual gyrus and the cuneus and rest of the part of the occipital lobe on the superolateral surface, these are the visual association area, isn't it? The visual association area, from where the optic radiation is coming by the which geniculate body, the visual area, medial or lateral? Yes, right. Lateral geniculate body is concerned with the vision, and the medial geniculate body, it is related with the hearing. Okay, auditory. So the auditory, the medial geniculate body, it is receives the information from both the ears. So if there is the loss of the hearing, impaired the auditory area of one side, the hearing loss is little impaired because it is bilaterally represented. Okay. So this is the, so what are the important areas here? On the medial surface, what you have seen, here is the calcarine sulcus, that is the part of the occipital lobe, that is the area number 17, which is the area for the vision. And what is the peculiarity of this visual area? It is also known as the striate area. Why? Anyone? This visual area, it is known as the gyri, which is concerned with the vision, visual sense, that is known as the striate area also. Why? Because in between the grey matter, there is a band of white matter, or which is known as white matter of line of Guinary or the Ballinger. So that's why it is also known as the visual area, it is also known as the striate area. and around that the visual association area, it is the area number 18 and 19 on the medial surface as well as the superolateral surface. Okay, so it is like that. So this visual secondary association area for vision, it is also connected with anteriorly on the frontal lobe. Have you heard the name of frontal eye field? Yes or no? Frontal eye field, very important for the objective. Where the frontal eye field is present, the frontal eye field, it is present, it is the area number 8. Okay, area number 8, the middle frontal gyrus on its posterior aspect. Look here, on its posterior aspect, it is known as the frontal eye field or the area number 8, and it is concerned with the, it is receiving the impulses from the visual association area. When it will be, you give a stimulus to this frontal eye field, what it will lead to the, it will lead to the conjugate movement of the eye to the opposite side. Okay, conjugate movement of the eyes towards the opposite side by the result of the frontal eye field, and there is the visual association area. Okay, so it is like that. Now all the important areas are covered here, isn't it? Yes or no? Tell me. Motor speech area, the sensory speech area, that is the vernix area, area number 22. Auditory area, that is the area number 41. Auditory association area 42 and 22 here. The angular gyrus and the supramarginal gyrus, the role of that you have understand. What is the function of the superior parietal lobule and the precuneus? It is helping in the stereognosis. Okay, and the rest of the frontal gyrus on the medial surface, superolateral surface and the orbital surface, it is concerned with the area of the foresightness, judgment. It is connected with the limbic system. Okay, so a personality. So in the next class, the time is over now. In the next class, we will discuss the rest of the surfaces and the one more important thing. Go and read today what is cerebral lateralization. A new concept here, what is cerebral lateralization of the cerebrum. Go and see it. Okay.